There are stories that connect us to ourselves and to each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. Now, exclusively on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, your hosts, AJ and Natalie.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome to Soul Wanderings on Wednesday night on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I'm AJ.
I'm Natalie.
And we are your hosts
for the Wednesday Night Wanderer.
Thank you, Natalie. What else? Continue on.
It's like so excited to be here. It's another lovely Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Get the opportunity to do a few things and then come to the studio and hang out with you and
it's a good time.
Have conversation, which I love to do.
I'm all bundled up right now. I have like a major oversized jacket and a blanket. It's chilly today and I can't get warm.
No, it may be May 1st, but it is nippy here.
It is. It's cold. And so, yeah, I'm all bundled. So, yeah, thanks for bringing your heat. Definitely got warmer since you walked in the room.
I do what I can. Bring my bright and shiny self everywhere I go.
Yes, and you're so good at it.
Work on polishing it. I was like, this little light of mine. Sometimes I have to remind myself. Okay, stoking the fire of my light.
Yes.
It's been a little it's been a little challenged, I do have to say. I have noticed does people get worn a little thin?
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of stress in a lot of different ways, and people are worn down a little thin, and so I bump into that a lot. And if you don't have your guidance system, we did a show a while back on the personal, the guidance principles, and that's really important. You hone them. And when life gets stormy, then you just got to have ways to navigate. So I, from time to time, am drawn to, I feel like I'm just guided. And a lot of times I get messages. A lot of times people get messages from movies and things. Lately, I've been getting messages from books. So I picked up this old book because I like to pick up and hardback older books, 50s, 60s, published a while ago. So I picked up this book called Atlantic Fury, and it was written in the 60s. I think it was 64 or 56. Can't remember. One of those, years way back. And it's about the story is set up near Ireland and Iceland and up in that part of the Atlantic, which I know really nothing about. But it's kind of intense because it's talking about the severe weather, wintry weather, severe country, severe water, and these ships that. And I was just reading the part last night where the ship it was a very awful storm, and sometimes all you could do is do the best you can to make decisions, and sometimes you're in storms that you're just not sure you're going to survive. And some people do, and some people don't. So it was very symbolic for what I feel like the world's going through right now.
I could see how.
And it's set in a military setting. They're evacuating this base that's up there, and there's a lot of dynamics in orders and having to do things on someone else's authority, and they're not in your world, and they're imposing decisions on you, and they're not boots on the ground. So it's this happens a lot where we have some other authority imposing us on our life. And so I I take that in the way that I've learned to live my life over the last decade or so, and it's like how learning to trust my own authority and making decisions from where I am and the present moment, and I realize that the only place that we can decide from is the now, right where we are.
Mhm.
And and so this is an aspect, just the story. I mean, it's not my story, it's someone else's story. It's a really exciting book, though. It was like page turner. I'm up. I'm like, really
Did
should go
you
to sleep.
actually read it from the beginning?
Yes, because it's a
Wow.
novel. I
Because I
think
know
it's kind of
you and
fun.
I do the same thing. We just flip the book open and
Yes,
what we're meant to read and read.
yes.
Read. What we're meant to read in that moment. Oh, I
Yes,
need
but
to make this.
when I do have novels or stories, then I do tend to read the whole thing because it's a story
Mhm.
after all, and so it's kinda nice to break away from self-help
Definitely.
books or that kind of thing and just read a
Definitely.
good story and still get keys out of that.
Yes.
And so, the other thing that I wanted to just talk about for a minute was learning to love yourself, like to really have love for yourself.
Hmm.
And how healthy it is to love yourself. And it's really a root of a lot of things. That's like that 'cause most people run around really despising themselves,
I know. It
trying to
breaks my
remodel and
heart.
be something that you're that just like I just don't like this about me and I don't like this about me. And it really
Mhm.
undermines your whole it's the primary relationship. It's the one, it's the one person that you can't escape from.
It's true.
24/7 with yourself.
And it's amazing how very little time we invest in that, in loving ourselves.
Yeah,
We're always looking outside of ourselves and um, loving other people so fiercely,
yeah,
forgetting like how amazing we are.
mhm. This journey that involves self-love, and that's not like a and when I'm talking about it, it's actually some pretty significant work.
Mm,
And it doesn't need to be this level of significant work. It's accepting. We each have a nature, and then we have what has been nurtured into us,
mm.
and learning to trust in your nature and to be what you do what and who you are naturally, irons out a lot of kinks and removes a lot of resistance in life.
Do you feel like that's something that we eventually learn to do later in our lives? I don't know a lot of younger people, except for I shouldn't say that, but like people our age, within 20 years of our age, that's not something that comes easily.
Right.
I do see it with like the the humans who are probably in their younger 20s to 30 maybe, they are all about the self-love, and it's all about boundaries and choosing themselves and standing up for themselves and things like that. But I would say like 30 and above, it's like we have to like have an undoing.
Yeah.
We have to unlearn all of the things that we learned that were bad about ourselves
Yeah.
and because that wasn't something that I learned to do until much later in life.
Right.
I was like well into my 40, well, probably 40,
Yeah.
late 30s, early 40s before I figured, "Oh, you know what? I actually am a really good person. Why don't I give myself enough credit? Why don't I love myself that fiercely that
It's
I
true.
love other people?"
And many times we have to go through different programs or we touch in,
Mhm.
to different aspects to crack that part open. And
Mhm.
so along the road of self-discovery, we do discover that we're kinda cool by our very nature, and that our uniqueness is what makes us us
Mhm.
in this incarnation.
Yeah.
I told a client the other day, I said, "Look, you have one opportunity," and I'll say it with me. I have one incarnation where I'm Natalie Peace. It's this
It's
one.
true.
When I come back again, I'll be a different character.
Mhm.
So this is my opportunity to live Natalie Peace to the fullest. What is Natalie here to do? And through the years, I didn't always have this.
Mhm.
I've been
Right. I
practicing
think
for
you
a
have to
long
learn
time.
it. You really
Yeah.
do. It's not something that most humans are just like our parents don't teach us this.
If we were taught it, then it would be
Right.
natural, but
Right.
it's not what we're taught. And our parents do. If our parents don't carry a level of self-love, really consider your parents as just people.
Mhm.
This is a really healthy exercise
Yeah.
or enlightening, I would say, to consider that your parent by the first name. Really truly drop any titles and just consider your person by your parent or parents by the first name
Mhm.
and see them as a person,
Right.
and they just have their own strengths and weaknesses and their own walk in life, and whether or not their own relationship with themselves, whether it's healthy or not, we
Mhm.
pick it up because that's how humans learn.
Right.
And if it's not in your parents, they didn't have it to teach you.
Mhm.
So that's what we get to talk about here. This
Yes.
kind of thing.
This is where we get
Learning
to
to
do
love
that.
yourself. Add warts and all. That's what I say. It's like, oh, this is like a raw love going, oh, look at me. I'm doing that thing that I just don't like, but I do.
Yeah, definitely. I created a practice that I incorporate in my mornings. And now I don't even think about it. It's not something like, oh, I need to do this. But there's like during the day or the mornings when I'm going about my routine and doing my things, I've caught myself now out of habit, if you will, like giving myself a compliment.
Yay.
Like I'll finish something, I'll be like, "You're awesome. Way good job, girl. Are you looking good today? Way good job, girl." Like whatever it is, like just having that rapport with myself and building that relationship with me, it really does help in a lot of ways.
Yes. And it may feel
Has
awkward
changed my whole I think
at the beginning.
initially,
Mhm.
yeah, I used to teach this class. It was an I am class, basically an affirmation class. Um, I used to be really into affirmations. I still appreciate them to a certain degree.
Mhm.
Depends on where I'm at in my life. Um, but the power of I am was a class that I taught, and one of the exercises that we did is I would have the student look in the mirror and like look
Yeah.
in the mirror, you know, when you look yourself in the eyes and you really connect with you, like you. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever done mirror work.
Mhm.
It's super powerful. And then I would have them say, whatever I had them say, it was always just like divinely guided what we would come up with. And it was amazing to me how many people were not able to say those things to themselves, like
Yeah.
literally breaking down in tears. It was so hard.
Oh,
And I
no.
understand because I was doing that exercise because I went through a class with that exercise and it was so powerful for me and so life changing for me that I wanted to incorporate it in the classes that I was teaching. And just watching them transition from the beginning of the class to the end of the class, actually being able to say something positive about themselves,
Yeah.
the best. It was so incredible. And if we could develop a practice that we felt comfortable with, speaking to you listeners, that like felt really good for you where you could develop a relationship with yourself that was deeper and just see how profoundly your life will change.
Yes. It's
It
worth it.
it really is awesome.
It's like the ultimate life partner is yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And if you
Wherever
can't
you
trust
go,
that,
there you are.
it's like if you can't trust yourself, then
Mhm,
ooh, it's it's a rough road. It's worth it.
mhm.
So how have you been?
Girl, I'm floating on a cloud this week.
Ah,
I took, let's see, 5 days off of work, so just not working in the store. I'm still definitely working on the side, right? I still have things going I can't just neglect. But my kids are in town, so my son, his wife, and my baby grand are here, and I've gotten a lot of time with my baby, so I'm like just super happy. So happy. I've had a lot of moments of introspection and just like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And just looking back at all these moments that led me to here and now having this beautiful grandchild, and what a blessing that is. And just having my son at home and just watching him become this amazing husband and father, and also having conversations that we don't normally get to have, right?
Yeah.
Because he was in Germany, and communicating is just not, it's it's pretty surface level
Yeah.
because, you know, it just is. And then just like really feeling it and being present in the moment and just soaking it all in and having just so much gratitude for life in general. And I have a lot of changes coming up in this next year, and not that I'm afraid, because I'm definitely not. I'm excited more than anything, but it's really neat to sit there and realize like all the work that you've done and where it has led you to, like internally and externally.
Right.
It's just so awesome. And just being around my kids, just I feel whole. Like, I feel when they're gone, like, part of me is missing, as
Mm.
corny as that sounds, and when they're home, like, I'm cooking and cleaning and changing a diaper and reading stories and, doing life stuff, like the little things that some people will be like, "Oh, that sounds horrible." Like, I feel complete. Like, I just feel so good when they're around, and so my week has been awesome.
Ooey gooey goodness.
So good. So good. I'm so in love with them.
I can see it all over your face. I walked into the studio and I'm like, oh, look, she's happy. Her
So
people are in
happy.
town.
So good. I am excited to get back to work, and I still am doing school this week, but um it is a nice little break. What about you?
It's been it's insightful, my life. There's been a couple, like I was mentioning a little bit earlier, just touching in. Um, and I had my one group I had this week that's suicide loss, and it was dense. It just felt
Mm,
a little bit heavier. Um, there was this I'm so intuitively guided that I really don't know what's gonna come out of my mouth. I do not plan, and I open up my mouth and stuff comes out. But I
yeah.
found myself asking near the end of this group, and it was just everybody's just has there's been some people in the group that have been going through some really rough things. There's some people that come to my group that have dealt with their own suicidal ideation or that type of thing, and it's rough to be in a group where they're grieving someone with suicide and struggling with suicide, and I had identified, I said, "Look, everybody here is at more risk because that's what the statistics
Mhm.
show," so it was heavy, and so I asked them what the meaning of life, and I just went each person, "What's the meaning of life?" They were all mostly they were kinda smart out 42 and kinda smart aleck responses. Um, but and then when
But
they got
humor is also healing.
yes, it's that's that lovely group of people, I love them so much. And then it got to me and I just said, "You guys are the meaning of my life." And they're like, "Oh, great, you go deep on us. We're all smart aleck." But I really felt that. I
Mhm.
have the I'm so blessed to be able to and I have trusted myself throughout my life enough to be guided to be where I am, to do work that is just on my for my whole potential.
Mhm.
I've been in places elsewhere in my life where I was in the grind, the rat race, working for organizations. But they were good jobs. I mean, I really never hated my work, but it is not the same as
No.
doing what you were like what I feel I was born
Right.
to do. So it doesn't come up as much of a challenge. But one thing that I can say is that a very good friend of mine has challenged me to build better boundaries. And I have been in that lesson.
That's awesome. I'm glad you listened.
And so that's my other thing, in my very interpersonal world. And when you set on a path to go to school about a particular subject,
Mhm.
life is very generous and gives you opportunities to practice.
Yes.
I have not not aced all the quizzes yet.
Well, progress.
Right.
I hope. I hope there's some progress in there.
But I'm working on it, and I'm feeling like I am making some inroads and seeing that. So boundaries are healthy. There's reason
Mhm.
for business hours. I think I mentioned that in a show or 2. I'm like, "I need business hours. It is
Mhm.
not free." And so today's insight was about this boundaries and business hours because I get to work in my life and my life is the work, that there's this blurring of all the edges. And so, years ago, I went to this expo and there was a coach there that had a $25,000 a year program. And if you bought into the $25,000 a year program, and there was 8 that she did, then you got personal access to her anywhere in her life.
Mm.
And I'm like, "Oh, nobody gets access to my personal world because nobody's paying me $25,000." That was my insight today.
But also, why would you want to have someone involved in your personal life to that extent?
Yeah.
And what really is the price on that
Well, yes.
piece? I mean,
Right.
that just sounds like a total invasion of
That is that is what I said too, is like, okay, that's kinda like that's a lot of other energetic things I can feel. But
Mhm.
the insight was worth it saying, "Oh, if I'm not giving myself any space in certain times and there are certain, um and I'm
Mhm.
opening up and I'm not having look, I'm busy." It's a big insight for me to understand I'm busy. If
Mhm.
I'm doing Natalie's stuff, I'm busy.
Mhm.
I am tied up and unavailable. It's
Mhm.
always been a little bit of a struggle for me, so that's what I've been doing this week.
I love
It's
that.
like, keep working on that because it is one of those, interpersonal things that has always been a difficult I've said this to people. I'm like, "I just don't really like so I gotta go." It's uncomfortable for me. Sometimes I stay on the phone for hours where instead of ending a call, I just don't know how to end calls.
Okay.
True confession.
I'll work with you on that.
Oh, you
I'm good at that.
okay, gotta go. I had someone literally do this to me. I was talking, and she wasn't, anywhere. It's funny because she's a splenic projector, which will mean something to you, or those that know, and she just, like, click, and I was like, "Huh." She just hung up, and then she texts me, "Okay, I gotta I'll talk to you later." Like, "Okay." Now that's a
Wow. That's
strategy.
a little abrasive.
It was really
There are manners. I feel like I'm
and
not
I
just
think
gonna
it's
hang
just
up
my
on
own
someone.
internal thing, but it's interesting. That's a
Mm.
little note about Natalie. That's like, "And okay."
We can work on that. I
Yes.
believe in you.
Thank you.
Boundaries are healthy.
Boundaries are healthy.
They are. Even if it's really uncomfortable for you, it will become easier for you the
Yeah.
more that you practice, just like anything else.
Yep.
I know you've got this.
Thank you. I love and your love and, support for me. I'm
That's
gonna
that's what I do.
succeed.
Yes, absolutely. And you have a lot of support from lots of people, so
Oh, yeah.
you are definitely supported. Tonight we're
Yes.
going to head to a break so we can get on with the show, but I'm looking forward to tonight. We had some missed opportunities in the past, so I'm grateful we are finally connecting. I feel like we're going to learn a lot this evening that we can implement into our daily lives. It'll be good. So we're going to go to a break. When we return, we will bring on our new guest for this evening. Stay close, everyone. We'll be right back. Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back to Soul Wanderings, heard on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I am AJ.
And I am Natalie.
And we are your hosts this evening. Every evening that we do Soul Wanderings.
Always their Soul Wanderings host.
Imagine that.
We don't let anyone else host for us.
We're here to show up.
That's right.
Tonight we have a brand new guest I'd like to introduce you to. Brent Michael Phillips is the founder of Awakening Dynamics, an internationally known and best-selling author, and has dedicated his life to spreading the most powerful techniques of energy healing, manifesting, intuition, and the ascension of consciousness towards enlightenment. Let's welcome to the show, Brent Michael Phillips. Hello there.
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
Great. Well, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you join us.
Oh, it's exciting to be here. This is awesome.
Great. Well, we just chit chat in the beginning, just a little fun banter back and forth. So I think we're excited to learn some new things and hear about your journey story.
Yeah, so we're going to continue the chit chat back and forth.
We're going to include you now.
Yes.
No problem.
All right. So you have quite a story. And on Soul Wanderings, we like to hear about people's human experiences, how they got to where they are today. And I know, like, we can't share your whole life story in a second. I know you probably have cliff notes, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to begin?
Sure,
with?
be happy to. So first thing is, so everyone knows, I never thought I'd do anything like this. Being a professional healer, teaching spirituality and meditation and the ascension of consciousness, seeing thousands of miracles, never could have imagined it. Because growing up, I was pretty much your typical nerd. I loved Dungeons and Dragons and Star Trek and Star Wars and stuff like that. And the one thing that I was good at that I thought I could make a living at was programming computers. So I ended up in college at MIT, and that's when I discovered the internet, which of course sounds funny today, but back then no one had ever heard of the internet, right?
No, it was really novel a
It
few
was.
years
And
ago.
I was like, wow, this whole online world, it was such an exciting thing. And so, long story short, I was at MIT for several years collecting degrees. And when I was in graduate school, I was very fortunate to be part of what became the World Wide Web Consortium. And I helped contribute code that is really at the foundation of everything that runs on the internet today. Though I was a small cog in a really big wheel, right? It was many people involved, but I was part of that. And so when the internet boom hit in the mid 90s, I really thought this is my gold rush. And so I left MIT, recruited my lifelong best friend, and we started a website company. And it's kind of funny. Did you know our very first project, the first website I had ever built in my entire life, beyond like Brent's homepage, right, was the website for the launch of the Sony PlayStation. That was the summer of 1995.
Oh, wow.
So it was a really exciting time. We did the first website for Nissan Motors. We did the first website for Disneyland. So we had a whole half a dozen Fortune 500 clients. A year later, I had 15 people working for me. And we even started a second company to make online games based on the technology I had developed in grad school. And we went on to release what is now considered the world's very first true MMORPG or MOG called Underlight. But there was a dirty little secret, which was I was chained to my desk at the office working 100 hours a week. Because I wanted to be successful more than I'd ever wanted anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just, and I loved what I did. I loved being a coder. I loved every minute of it. And so long story short, I destroyed my body. And I had a huge health crisis. And, we'll skip over most of the drama, but I had horrific repetitive stress injuries. I was in constant pain. I learned years later I had contracted chronic Lyme disease that I didn't know. I was suffering from chemical poisoning. I had cancer that ran undetected for years. It goes on and on and on. But long story short, I was in so much pain I could barely work. And I started going to physical therapy. And I spent 3 years climbing the ladder of physical therapy. And I was so excited when I finally got in to see the top doctor at Curlin Job, which is the number one physical therapy clinic in the West Coast. The Olympians, all the professional athletes go there. And I thought, hey, this guy can help me, right? He'll know what to do. What I was not expecting was I went in to see him, and he just kind of looked at my files and said to me, well, I'm sorry, son, but there's nothing I or a doctor can do. You're never going to be able to go back to work. You'll never be out of pain. I'm going to do you a favor, recommend you for a lifetime disability. And that was that. That I walked out of his office and I was told, please never come back. You are a hopeless case. And he recommended me for lifetime permanent disability when I was just 27 years old,
Oh.
which is a very rare thing. It's not often you get that. Typically, people that get lifetime disability in their 20s, they've have major brain injuries or missing multiple limbs or something really horrific. And so at first I was like, okay, this is a setback. And I went to go see my best friend and business partner, figuring he'd be all, hey, Brent, hang in there. We'll get through this together, right? He was
Mhm.
just like, well, sorry, if you can't work anymore, you're no use to us. And so he basically had been playing games with the legal documents for a couple years, including forging my name and all this other stuff. And he stole the company from me, both of them.
Oh.
And I found out just after that, he had also been secretly dating the woman I was crazy in love with. So it was, truly a dark night of the soul. I had lost not one, but two multi-million-dollar companies. I had lost my career. My education was now worthless. I had no money. I was living with my parents. I was suffering from soul crushing chronic pain. Was told by the doctors there was no hope of recovery. And oh, yeah, I also lost my best friend and the woman I was in love with. And so, that was Dark Night of the Soul number one. And
Number one.
long,
We
yeah,
number
number one. There's more. We're not going to cover all of them. Don't worry. This was the one that kind of set the tone. And I was very lucky. I started day drinking, using drugs. Almost killed myself a bunch of times. And then I got into alternative medicine, and I was really excited at first. I'm like, wow, maybe this will work for me, right? So I was doing acupuncture and herbs and cleanses, and I bought magnets and lasers and, doing the vision board and the mastermind and the mantras, all this stuff, right? So long story short, 5 years and over $100,000 in credit card debt later, I didn't get any better. I got worse.
Mm.
And it was sort of a last ditch effort. I agreed to have an experimental surgery, which, of course, had the surgery cured me and I lived happily ever after, I wouldn't be here. Right. And so I woke up from the surgery and my right arm was paralyzed on top of everything else I'd been through.
Wow.
And so that was kind of rock bottoms in terms of my health. My arm was paralyzed for almost 6 months. I had another surgery. I saw a physical therapist. Nothing was helping. And then I went to see this crazy healer lady named Terry. And I had done some hands-on healing before. I had worked with Reiki healers and pranic healers and things like that, and it never done anything for me. I know it helps a lot of other people, which is great. And so I only went to see Terry because my aunt had agreed to pay for the session. And so I showed up to see Terry, and she talked to me about the power of the subconscious mind and how that it controls everything that happens in our life, and that it's possible to heal instantly and even experience miracles if you know how to get into the subconscious. And I was like, all right, great. Let's give it a shot. Right. So she asked me all these questions about my childhood and my best friend and the woman I had been in love with and all the money I had lost and the pain I'd been through and all this trauma. And she was doing this block clearing thing, she called it. And it was kind of interesting, but I'm like, hey, lady, I'm not here to talk about my feelings. I'm here because I'm in pain and I can't move my arm. Right. I thought, well, I'm like, what does that have to do with my feelings? It seemed totally irrelevant. And
Right.
so, right,
We
that
never
was my
connect
mindset.
them.
I had never connected them, never in a million years. I really thought that what I believed in my feelings and energy and attitude was irrelevant. I just figured there's a world that's out there that it works according to the laws of physics, and that's all that matters.
Mhm.
Let me just say, I couldn't have been more wrong, right? For
Right.
someone with such a high IQ, so much education, so many credentials, I was an idiot, really a complete fool. And so at the end of our session, she goes, "Okay, dear, we're going to heal your arm now." And I'm like, "Yeah, lady, whatever, right? You and what army?" Because I had been through specialist and manipulations, and I'd worn dynasplints and a CPM machine, all these things. I'm like,
Mhm.
how is you praying to God going to help me, right? Seemed kind of silly. And so she kind of went into a trance for a minute. And I'll remember, I'll never forget. It was the craziest thing. I felt like a little pop and explosion in my elbow, like a little firecracker went off. It's the kind of cracks and pops we all get as we get older, but like times 100. That like it shook my whole body, right? And I remember I was like, "Whoa!" And Terry opened her eyes and smiled and said, "Okay, dear, let's try your arm now." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And I was like, I couldn't believe it. My arm had instantly healed,
Wow.
and that really happened. And that was what, 21 years ago now. And that was the day that my life totally changed. That I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Though what I said at the time was a lot more R-rated, but we'll keep it clean in case there's children listening, right?
Right.
Yeah, it was R-rated, not X-rated. And I was like, "Terry, please teach me this." And so, long story short, I spent the next several years studying with the masters. I went all over finding these great healers and shamans and mystics and intuitives and so on. And my angle was simple. I was going to reverse engineer them. I was going to figure out what they were doing and then make it better, because that's what they taught me at MIT. And when I started this journey, I was kind of arrogant. I thought it'd take me maybe 3, 6 months. Well, it really took me about 10 years to figure it all out, right? It was a much longer process than I expected. But, with working with Terry, doing what I call the second generation technology, involving subconscious blocks and muscle testing, theta waves, things like that, I was able to reduce my pain enough that I could start working again. I started a business doing energy healing professionally, teaching classes, and that was amazing. But it only took me so far. There were a couple more dark nights of the soul in there: car accident, a divorce, uh, migraines. My best friend died of a drug overdose. It was, all the stuff that happened. And then we get to Dark Night of the Soul number 4 in 2008, where I went bankrupt.
Mm.
I lost everything, and I was this close to being homeless. And true story. It sounds crazy. It was the day after my bankruptcy that I really thought my life was over. And I met the man who became my mentor. His name was Carl Wolf. And I remember Carl had told me when he first met me, he said, "Brent," I talked to him on the phone and we set the time. He goes, "Brent, I'll see you at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Are you ready to add a zero to your income?" And I was like, "Ha ha ha, sure. 10 times zero is zero, right? No problem." And I thought he was just kidding. I thought he was being polite. He was serious. That working with Carl was kind of the last piece of the puzzle for me. That he introduced me to what I call the third generation technology, embodiment, presence, connection into the quantum field. And I went from having like $9 in my bank account to making 50 grand within 3 days. And it was so crazy because my dating coach had referred me to Carl. And he said, "Brent, you're too messed up for me. You got to see the master." And when I had my first session with Carl, he had me moving, rollerblading, all this criticism, but he didn't do anything to fix me, right? And I actually went home and chewed Brian's butt off for sending me to this con artist. I was like, "Brian, damn it, I'm bankrupt. You had me spend my last $500 on this kooky old guy who had me rollerblade and then criticize me," right? I didn't see how that would help. And I remember Brian said, "Brent, I get it. Relax." He says, "Give it 3 weeks. If you don't see any shifts or changes in your life within 3 weeks, let me know and I'll make it right for you. I'll either repay you or give you more sessions, or, we'll figure it out." I was like, "Okay." So I marked my calendar 3 weeks out, call Brian again, chew his butt off, right? Get my money back. And it didn't take 3 weeks. It took 3 days. And that's was kind of, as I say, the last piece of the puzzle, then to, what I sometimes call the formula for miracles, that quite simply, there is processes you can use involving the subconscious and human consciousness to create effects that other people would call miracles, which, I would say a miracle is simply a phenomena that we can't fully explain with our current level of science and technology,
Mm.
right? If you took your cell phone through a time machine and showed it to a caveman, or heck, if you took it back just 100 years to the 1920s, they would think it was a miracle, huh?
Yeah.
It can do math, it can record video, it can record voice. Oh my God, right?
Mhm.
It would seem like it's from the devil or God or aliens or something, right?
Yeah.
But the way I see it is instant healings, profound life transformations. It's all just technology. And what I found is that everything I learned at MIT about programming computers applies to people in life. That the subconscious is just software. And if we know how to work with the code, you can facilitate what are called miracles. So, and I want to be clear, this is not a magic wand. It's not a magic wand you wave and everything in your life becomes exactly how you want 5 minutes later. No. But, I am very proud that about 3 weeks ago, I passed my 2,000 miracle mark of, over 2,000 legitimate medical miracles with my healing clients. I've seen over 100 from cancer, a bunch more from HIV, back pain, depression, allergies, loneliness, anxiety, you name it. And what I want people to know is that there's a lot of people that you may feel very stuck, that nothing's working for you, and there's no hope. For those people, I want you to know there's hope. It's just there's so much we don't know. I had no idea this existed. And for those that are doing pretty well, what I want you to hear is there's a whole nother level of success and fulfillment available to you. That what we think of as the quote American dream, have a steady job, a family, a house with a white picket fence. That's nice, but we're capable of so much more.
Mm.
We're capable of loving our jobs, of making more money than we think we deserve, of having friendships, relationships, finding your true self, finding your real purpose. And again, I see it as just a matter of applying the right technology. That, the cavemen lived by the same laws of the universe as us, huh? It
Mhm.
just took us however many thousands of years to figure out how to build a fire, how to make a wheel, how to plant crops, right? All the way up to your cell phone and the satellites and the supercomputers. And the way I see what I call consciousness technology, including things like meditation, focused prayer, law of attraction, energy healing, we're still in kind of the early stages. That what I think is a good parallel is electricity. That if we go back in time roughly 200 years to the time of Benjamin Franklin, people knew about electricity, right? They weren't stupid, right? They could see a lightning bolt in a storm. You could feel a static shock on a cold winter day, right? So they observed it, they experienced it, but they had no idea how it worked or where it came from. Well, fast forward a couple hundred years, we figured it out, didn't we?
Well, some people still don't know where it comes
Sure.
from or how.
But human knowledge on a whole has conquered that,
It's true.
right? Maxwell, Einstein, Tesla, etc. They figured it out. And now we put electricity to work for us. It lights our homes. It powers our computers. It
Mm.
runs your toaster, your microwave, right? It's become such an integral part of our lives. It's almost hard to imagine our lives without it.
Mhm.
So I think energy healing, consciousness technology is kind of like electricity a few hundred years ago. There's a few people just starting to figure out little bits of it. We've all heard about miracles, right? That maybe you've heard of this guy named Jesus of Nazareth. He was running around doing miracles thousands of years ago, right? So it's very special people with special gifts have been able to tap into it. But
Mhm.
now is such an exciting time to be alive because it's the first time in human history we're starting to crack that nut, starting to figure out how our minds work, how consciousness works, where does it come from, how does the subconscious operate. Plus, and I sometimes think of myself as what I call a metaphysical engineer, that if you want to create a healing, like let's say you're allergic to cats, it's just a matter of debugging some code in the subconscious. And again, it's not magic. There's no 100% here, but I'm like 95% with cat and dog allergies. That's a simple thing to debug. Something like a fatal cancer is a little more complicated, but not much more so.
Mm.
And so I want people to hear, hey, there's this incredible technology that you've probably never heard of, because just like free energy and a lot of the other cool stuff out there, there's some very powerful, wealthy institutions in our world, like the medical establishment, that don't want you to know about this,
Mhm.
right? They
Right.
don't want you to know about this because it's going to take away their monopoly. One of the crazy things that I think you'll find this amusing, when I first had that first miracle and I decided to become a professional healer, this was my plan for building my business. I was just going to go see all the doctors, therapists, etc., that I'd seen for years and tell them what happened. And I figured they'd be really excited and send me lots of referrals, and I'd be working with tons of people. So you want to take a guess at the total number of referrals I got from about 50 doctors, therapists, nurses, acupuncturists, homeopaths, etc.
You want to add a 0? Is that what you're doing?
That is exactly it. It was, as we used to say at MIT, it's a round number,
Yeah.
aka the round number 0.
Right.
No one wanted to hear about it.
Yeah.
Even my physical therapist I've been working with for 2 years. When my arm was paralyzed, I saw her 3 times a week for hour-and-a-half sessions religiously for months. And suddenly I showed up the next day and my arm was totally healed. She didn't
What
want to
did
hear
they
about it.
say? She
She
didn't
was
say
like,
anything?
she was like, that's curious. Let's work on your knee. And I was like, wait a second, right? I've been seeing you for 2 years. My arm was paralyzed for 6 months, and all of a sudden it's 100%. And you really don't want to learn more? She was like, not really. And I
So
was like,
was that
whoa. I was like, holy crap.
I'm just a little curious because you were in MIT, and I have
Yep.
just a concept of what that would be. So if it would be similar, I would imagine, like, taking that back to that group of people and saying,
Yep.
"Hey, there's this other technology and energy, and it
Right.
works like this, and the moon and the stars and all of that."
Right.
Wouldn't it be like having that
Yeah.
conversation with them as well?
I would imagine, had I gone back to MIT and put flyers all over campus, awesome energy healing, change your life technology, probably nobody would have showed up
Mhm.
because it was too far outside their paradigm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The only reason I was open to it was I had done a lot of martial arts as a young man. And so I had been introduced to mysticism and mind power through martial arts. And so when I met Terry and then later Carl, I didn't fully understand it, but at least I had some basis to go, this could be real, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yep.
Because I had seen martial arts masters do some things that would defy the laws of physics.
Yeah.
I have personally been thrown across the room by a 5 foot tall, 78-year-old Japanese man. And according to the laws of physics, that shouldn't be possible. So through martial arts, I had enough that I'm like, okay, there's something to this whole mind power energy thing, right?
Mhm.
But I didn't really believe it till I experienced it. And,
Right, and that's the thing is actually having the experience, and so people aren't willing to put themselves in those positions to have the
that's right.
experience. Natalie and I have the same I think we have the same experiences is what he's explaining. We have
Oh.
these really great abilities and tools to help people become better versions of themselves, but they're like, "Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm good."
Yep.
They're
It's
just
funny how
It
much
blows
people
my mind.
they'll complain about something over and
Mhm,
over, and you offer them a solution and they ignore it.
mhm,
What I learned was most people don't want solutions, they just want a problem to whine about.
mm,
it
Every now
serves
and then you
them.
get someone who's serious about solutions,
Oh, yes.
mhm,
that's open-minded, that really does want to solve the problem and move forward.
mhm,
Every life coach and healer knows this, that anyone that's been doing it for more than 6 months, you know that many of your clients, you tell them exactly what to do to transform their life, achieve their goal, and they never do it. It's just a million excuses.
The percentage is small,
Yes.
Wow.
definitely.
And we all go through a phase of trying to heal the world. I'm sure you both did when you were
Oh,
learning this.
you
Right
know,
when you start, you want to help
Yep.
everybody. You're like, I'm going to
Yep.
save the world for sure.
Right.
oh,
Right
that's
after you
so
start to
hot.
have success, if you see a couple healings, you know what
Oh,
you're
sure.
doing. You're chasing down people in walkers at the grocery store trying to heal them, right? And they're just trying to be polite, going, "Oh God, get this greasy person away from me," right?
Yeah.
So, I went through
Like
that phase for sure.
they'll say, I constructed this health issue and it serves me really well and I'm not
That
ready to
is
be without it.
that is a fact.
Mhm.
I actually had one of my clients. She was what I call a drag-in. Her daughter had dragged her in. She didn't want to be there.
Oh, I like
Like,
that. I'm gonna
yeah, yeah, dragging. You see that a lot with drug addiction and people with
Mhm.
elderly parents.
yeah.
They drag them in, force them to see a healer.
Mhm.
And she said, "Brent, you can do anything you want to my body, but don't ask me questions and don't you dare question my beliefs. Off limits." I'm like, "Why are we here?" Right? I'm like, "You want to play cards?" Right? I can put on the TV. No, I was serious. I'm like, "What do you want to do till your daughter comes and picks you up?" Because there's nothing I can do with that.
Mhm.
But there are plenty of people that do want solutions, and that's why I'm here. If you're one of those people that's open-minded, you're willing to let go of some of what you think you know to experience a bigger, grander, more beautiful vision of life. That's why I'm here. Because there are people that are serious seekers that really do want the answers.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yep,
If you're open to miracles.
that's right. And what I learned was that you want to go out and heal the world, but for the most part, the world doesn't want to be healed.
Agreed.
But there are some people that do. And again, that's why I'm here. That's why I've devoted my life to this work. I want to share these tools, show people what's possible. And I love seeing the light bulb go on. I love
Mm.
watching the transformation in people's energy.
Oh yeah.
That's what keeps me going day to day for sure.
I love that. I think that it's addicting. We talk about that addiction that we have ourselves when we help people and just seeing the transformation. It
Yep.
does become very addicting.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah. Quite a journey story so far. And we get another hour with you.
Yeah. You
How
guys got
lucky
the
for
the,
us.
the, the shorter version. It's funny. I've told the full version a couple times and it's kind of horrifying, like a horror movie, and people tune out. So I'm not going to do that to you.
I do the same thing with my life. People are like, "Tell me about your life."
You're like,
Let me
yeah,
give you Cliff Notes.
right. We'll give you the watered down version that you're ready for.
Well, but you have so much to share, and that's just a very small part of your human experience, which also was a catalyst to be who you are today.
Yep.
So the point is that you shared it, and we get to learn more about it when we return here just after this short break. Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back to Soul Wanderings on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I am AJ,
And I am Natalie.
and you can find us on kgradb.com. Head over to the shows and hosts section Wednesday night and scroll all the way down to the bottom because we're one of the last shows of the day, not because we're the bottom of the barrel.
Nope.
And there you'll learn more about Natalie or myself. You can also hit on one of the buttons to subscribe for your membership. If you choose to support the station and our show, you'll receive 30% off your annual or monthly subscription today. Yay for KGRA. Tonight we're hanging out with Brent Michael Phillips. He's the founder of Awakening Dynamics. He's also a best-selling author and happens to be a metaphysical engineer. And yeah, thanks, Chanel. I noticed, Brent, and thank you for being here. Welcome back. You have a part 1, 2, and 3. Did I see that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. That my first book I published was called "Where Science Meets Spirit: The Formula for Miracles," and it's in 3 parts. And really, part 1 is kind of the human story. That what did I go through to learn all this? Who were the main players?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of sets the foundation. Part 2 is the step-by-step explanation, the science of miracles. that there is a way to facilitate miracles. And, if it didn't work, I wouldn't have seen thousands of miracles in my clients. And just want to be clear that we don't pick the miracles, they pick us. You cannot force a miracle to happen. I like to say it's kind of like falling in love. You
Mhm.
can't make someone fall in love with you, can you?
No.
No.
You also can't make them fall out of love with you, can you?
Nope.
So miracles are like that, but we can facilitate the conditions. So be positive, be interesting, go out and meet people, take care of yourself, be presentable, right? These are all great things to do if you want to meet people and fall in love. And so that is really very much about explaining the science of it, which is great for the left brain in your head types like me, because many people will resist something that their brain cannot model. It's too weird, right? You may have heard the story about what happened when Columbus and the Spanish first came to the New World. Do you know that story about how the natives couldn't see the ships?
Go ahead and tell the
Okay,
story.
so it's really interesting that now I wasn't there. This
Vaguely,
is all second,
vaguely.
third hand, right? I'm not 600 years old, but the story goes
Probably for us and the listeners.
yes, when the Spanish came to the New World, they pulled up in one of the first islands they found with people that it took a little time for them to start to communicate. But the native asked them, "How did you get here?" And they go, "We came on our ship." And they pointed to the longboat they'd rowed in on. They go, "That?" They go, "No, no, that can't go on the ocean. Our ship." And a Spanish ship is, a big thing, right? It's like 300 feet long, 100 feet wide, 40 feet tall. You can't miss it. But evidently, the natives where they landed had no frame of reference, no model in their brain for a gigantic sailing ship that could cross oceans. All they had was little canoes they would use to go out fishing or go from one island to another. And so they literally could not see the ships. It was too
Mm.
outside their reality. And the story goes that the wise man, the shaman of the island, came and asked the Spanish, "What does it look like? Where is it?" And he sat on the beach and just stared at it. And he noticed he could see the indentation in the water where the ship was displacing the water. And he sat, the story goes, it took about 3 hours. He sat and stared at it, and then boom, the ship appeared. And then he started explaining it to the other natives on the island. And every time someone would come up, he'd explain it, and boom, they could see the ship. And the story goes, by the time they got to the third island, everybody could see the ships. It had shifted the mass consciousness for the whole society that lived there. And from that point forward, nobody had any trouble seeing their ships.
Mm.
And that's kind of what I want to do for people is make them able to see the miracles. This technology is right there. It's been there the whole time.
Mhm.
But many of us literally cannot see it. Our brains pull it out. So that's part 2. And part 3 is the sort of application to your life. Okay, we got this great technology. We can reprogram the subconscious. We can create miracles. Now what? How do we apply it? So I have, different topics, how we use it to make more money, to improve relationships, to improve your health, to improve your intuition, to find your sense of purpose. But really, I loved what you said earlier. It's just about helping everyone to be a little better version of who they are.
Mhm.
And I remember when I did Carl's intensive life training, it was a 6-month program. It was $15,000. And people came out of it with these incredible success stories. Oh my God, I, finally broke through. There were people that won Olympic medals, won Oscars, made millions of dollars. Not everyone, of course, and I really thought it was like superhero training camp, right? Or like Hogwarts. They were going to teach me magic. And what one of the assistants who had done it the year before me said, she said, "No, Brent, it's really you learn how to be just a little bit better version of yourself every day. And if you can become just a little better version of yourself, a little more grounded, a little more connected, a little more genuine in being who you are, then those little changes compound over time and create the big results."
Mhm.
And that's, another thing I want to emphasize. You can see this as sort of a hit or miss magic wand. That, okay, we try a session, maybe you get a miracle, maybe you don't. But that's not really what it's about. It's about embracing a whole new idea of life and learning how to be a little more you every day. And maybe you don't triple your income the first week, maybe you do. Maybe you experience a miracle healing the first month, maybe you don't. We don't know.
Mhm.
But if you stick with it, those small changes compounded over time deliver big results. Very much like a financial advisor will tell you. If you can start saving $100 a month when you're 23, you'll have millions of dollars by the time you retire. Right? Doesn't sound like it, but go do the math, right?
Mhm.
And this is the same way. You invest just a little bit in yourself, a little bit every day, a little bit of practice here and there. And over months and years, it all compounds
Mm.
and can take you to places you may never thought were possible. For me, part of it was one of the highlights of my life was in 2017. I got to take my son to see the World Series, which was so huge because one, I'd been told by doctors it was unlikely I'd be able to have children after all the chemical poisoning and the things I'd been through. And two, I never thought I could afford such a thing. I spent most of my young adult life scraping by on disability and credit card debt. And, had you told me in 2003 that in the future I'd be taking, my son to see the World Series, I would have laughed at you. And so did it happen overnight? Some things do, some things don't. And just to be clear, my first session with Terry, when my elbow healed, it wasn't that all my problems got solved in an hour. No, just that one thing, just the paralyzed arm, right?
Just that thing.
Right.
Right. Just that.
Right.
I still had back pain. I still had migraine headaches. I was still depressed. I was full of anxiety. I still had all these other issues, right? A whole laundry list. So that's why I say it's not magic. I wish it was, right? But if you're willing to engage the process over time, you'll be amazed at what happens. Just like if you're willing to save a little bit of money over decades, you'll be amazed at how much you end up accumulating.
Mhm.
And so
I I
small
like to
changes day to day,
yeah, I like to think of it as a seed, right? Because you
Yes,
plant a seed, it doesn't just have a flower the next day. There's a process in all things that become beautiful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Part of my journey was I used to be very antisocial. Not that I hated people, but I was born with autism. My father was an alcoholic. My mother was off the charts nuts. And so I never developed the normal social skills. And so, I used to be a little rude to people because I figured it didn't matter. Nowadays, I try to treat everyone with some level of honor, respect, and love because every interaction you have with someone is planting a seed.
Mhm.
Right? When I get my coffee from Starbucks, I smile at the barista, say thank you.
Mhm.
Why not? Right? If I see a homeless person, if they're clearly not a drug addict, I'll sit for a minute and say, hey man, how you doing? Why? No one does that. No one
Mhm.
stops to just ask, how are you doing? Right? So now I see life totally different. Every interaction I have in every moment, I see as planting a seed for the future.
Mhm.
Because I'm certainly not a big celebrity. I've been recognized on the street like 4 times in my life. But one of them was someone that came up to me in a grocery store. I don't know how they recognized me, maybe my voice. They go, oh my God, are you Brent Michael Phillips? I'm like, I'm one of them. She's like, oh, I heard you on Lisa Gar the Aware show 5 years ago, and you had taught blah, blah, blah. And oh my God, you totally changed my life. I was like, really?
Mhm.
Cool. Like, you want to buy something from me? Right. But that's what I mean. Every interaction, everything we do is planting a seed.
Mhm.
So I'm much more conscientious about that than before. Right.
You
Before,
never know who you'll affect.
exactly. Especially
Mhm.
living in Los Angeles, a huge city, you figure you're never going to see these people again. But do you know that? Right.
Mhm.
This person you're nice to or maybe cruel to may end up being your neighbor. Right. That may be your girlfriend's cousin. You never know.
Mhm.
So part of my journey has been just this part of humility. We don't know how everything's connected. We have no idea what are going to be the downstream results of our actions today. So, just do the best you can,
Mhm.
you know?
It really is as simple as that. We've talked about this so many times, how we overcomplicate everything, but
Sure.
taking it back a few notches and just, like, those little things, they really do add up to be big things.
Yeah. I paid a life coach tens of thousands of dollars. And the takeaway I got was be nice to people, life goes smoother. Really simple, right?
That's an expensive lesson.
It was a very expensive lesson, you know. I many times I wish I could have that money back to buy Bitcoin 15 years ago when this happened, but that's just not how life works, you know. I go, oh my God, all that in Bitcoin, I'd be worth like, $80 million today. But
Right.
if that was meant to happen, it would have. It's that simple.
Exactly. Were you
We're
gonna
all
say something?
creating the exact chain of experiences the divine part of us has chosen to volunteer for.
Exactly.
And what we do from the conscious mind isn't quite as important as we think it is,
That's right.
that we all think that we all have what's called main character syndrome. We all think that other people are thinking about us all the time. Hint, they're not,
Mhm. Mm.
right?
No.
We all think that, oh God, we agonize over making these decisions. One of the fun science facts I found was that your subconscious mind makes all your decisions for you, usually 6 seconds ahead of when you're even aware there's a decision to make.
Yep.
That's incredible.
So, this whole thing in our brain about thinking about it, choosing, weighing, that's all an illusion.
Mhm.
The fact is, the divine part of you chose what it wishes to experience. The laws of the universe then backfilled through cause and effect what has to happen to lead you there. And your subconscious is just like the software that runs the show, you know?
Hmm.
It just arranges everything just like the program on your computer. And the conscious mind is about as important for your life as it is for your software,
The
right?
conscious mind is supposed to sit in the back seat and just
Yes,
enjoy the ride.
exactly. It has a role. What
Yeah.
my late mentor would say is it's kind of like the steering wheel in the car. It can help you to aim where you think you want to go, but it doesn't take you there, and it can't guarantee it, and it isn't up to it, right?
Right.
But yes, we're ideally we are supposed to simply recognize that we're a vehicle moving through a chain of experiences. But in our
Mm.
culture, we all get completely identified with the ego by the time we're 2 or 3 years old,
Mhm.
and we think that we are our ego. It's you guys ever heard the old Zen joke about the fish in the ocean?
Go
It
ahead,
goes
tell us.
something like this: that there's an old fish and two young fish swimming around in the ocean, and the old fish swims up to the young fish and says, "Ho, boys, how's the water today?" And the two young fish look at each other and goes, "Who's this crazy old fish? And what the heck is water?"
Yep.
Why? Fish live their whole lives immersed in water. They don't even notice it's there. And what I found is most humans live so immersed in the ego, they don't even see it. We're not even aware there's a different way to live. And in some of the advanced work I do, it's about cultivating that identification with the observing rather than the actor. That, we think we're Brent or AJ or Natalie. No, there's only one eternal divine spark observing, experiencing all of our lives. And, this is not something to believe because Brent said it. Every religious leader across every tradition through human history has a version of that message, right?
Yep.
That we're all one, we're all connected, there's no separation. And clearly, we're not the body or the mind because they're separate, aren't they? I got a body, she got a body, you got a body, right?
Right.
If I do this, it doesn't hurt you, does it? No. And we even have souls that are somehow separate. So clearly, that can't be you, huh?
Mm.
So that's part of the what we call the awakening process is disidentifying with the ego and the mind to find the real you.
Mm.
And it's crazy because when you dial into the real you, your life tends to work better. I can't fully explain it, but the kind of thing I'm talking about. One of the things that happened with Carl, the first time he taught a retreat in New England that I attended is something he used to do once a year. And we both lived in Los Angeles and we booked the same flight and we shared a ride to the airport. And so we're there and the security line at LAX is crazy, right? this huge long line, and we get in the back, and I'm all, God damn it, we're gonna miss the flight, and blah blah blah, and da da da. And Carl's like, Brent, relax, we haven't missed the flight yet, right? And less than 2 3 minutes after that, this lady in a TSE uniform walks right up to him and says, "Excuse me, sir, if you'd like, I can take you and your party through the VIP check-in where there's no line." And I was like, what? I figured he knew her, right? Didn't offer that to anybody else. And so she pulled us aside. We went through the VIP check-in. 2 minutes later, we're on our way to the terminal. And I'm like, hey, Carl, how did you know her? I figured maybe she was a friend of the family or one of his clients or something like that, right? And he said, no, Brent, I've never seen her before in my life. But things like that happen to me all the time. And, he was a true living master in my mind. He
Mhm.
knew this was an illusion. His story was he died when he was born and saw the truth. That
Mhm.
he was a reincarnated Siddha who chose to be a white guy from upstate New York so he could bring the spiritual teachings to a new audience that really needed it. And, Brent is one of them. And so it's wild that, all for him, it was all natural and intuitive. He never really studied with anyone on this stuff. He just knew how to do it.
Mhm.
But yeah, he was so connected, so in that flow of life that beautiful little gifts showed up for him all the time.
Mhm.
I go out to dinner with him. The food tasted better when he was there. It's crazy. Didn't make a lot of sense. We always got better service. There was never a long wait. It was all this little stuff, right? But, I'm sure both of you've been on your path to know that one, the real change starts on the inside. We all want the money, the sex, the healthy body, the long life, right? But if you're being the same you on the inside, don't expect that it's going to change a lot on the outside.
Mhm.
And that most of it is little stuff.
Mhm.
As they say, no one on their deathbed ever said, "Oh, I should have spent more time at the office," or "Oh, I spent too much money on Starbucks." No, the things we talk about, we miss at the end of our lives are the little things.
Mhm.
My father said before he died, I wish I could have one more Sunday morning to drink coffee and watch the news, read the newspaper, things like that.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so I just will remind me and everyone here, stop for a moment and bless your life, as
Mhm.
crappy as it may seem. I don't know who said this. Maybe one of you knows that there's a beautiful teaching. Life happens for you, not to you.
It's the universal teaching. I don't know that anyone
Yeah, I'm not sure
particular.
who said what human said that first. I don't know. It just, as a scientist, I love to give attribution where it's due.
Well,
I'm
even
not gonna,
when you so even when you're attributing, you realize that the universal wisdom comes out
of
of a
course,
human, and then
of
we
course,
attribute it to someone, but it was universal truth.
right.
If it
It's
is
not a personal
universal
thing.
truth, right? Yeah.
It'd be like, just that was the vessel the divine chose to deliver this message.
I think that particular, that's definitely come up, in my experience through channeled work. So it's like the universe is we definitely need that right now as
Hmm.
humans to understand that life isn't happening to us. There's a lot of
Right.
trauma and difficulty in this humanity currently during
For
this
sure.
age. And so that's a release mechanism to say it's
Just a little bit.
for me.
Mhm.
So when we really can surrender, just like your master teacher did, he's like, I don't, life is here for me.
Hmm.
If I'm just in the flow, life has me. And the vast majority of people do not live in that full surrender
Yes.
to life, knowing life will just have me at any given moment.
It's so rare to find people that are what I would call naturally awake. They're out there
Mhm.
Yeah.
that just know this truth and live that way.
Yep.
I had to learn it. Took me years of study. I had to do it the hard way, right? But yes, but once you start to get there, things get easier.
Oh, yes, the resistant is
Yes,
really
it is.
eliminated and eliminated.
Yeah. One of the beautiful things that Carl taught everyone was exaggerate the opposite. That's how you eliminate your resistance. So, great story. Either of you familiar with Chris Howard? He was one of the
Mhm.
big wealth building gurus. He was popular in the 2000s, but long story short, he came out of NLP and he wanted to teach seminars and make a lot of money. But he understood that if his goal was to avoid poverty, it wouldn't work. What in NLP they call away from motivation. I want to be rich because I don't want to be poor.
Mhm.
He moved to the ghetto for 6 months to make peace with being poor, so he wouldn't be afraid of it.
Wow.
And within 2 years, he was charging $10,000 an hour for private sessions. No joke. So that was someone that really embraced this.
Mhm.
That it's what Carl Jung called the shadow. That Carl Wolf was a student of Joseph Campbell, who was a student of Carl Jung. And so you'll see a lot of that terminology in my work.
Mhm.
That there's so much inside of us we judge, that's not me, I never want that to happen. That's the secret to your power.
Hmm.
That's how you expand your life. You know, one of the things that was huge for me was that Carl tried to convince me that I was gay, which seemed kind of nuts because I'd never really had fantasies about men. I'd always just kind of been, I like girls, and it was that simple. But he was the first person to get me to question that. And my willingness to maybe be gay was the biggest block I had to take my career and income to the next level, as crazy as that sounds.
Hmm.
So that was a big part of what I called my shadow. I go, I'm not that. And I had gay friends. It was fine. I didn't really care, right? But I was so much I'm not that that I was resisting it, and it was holding me back.
Hmm.
Because, you know, a lot of people may know, if you've studied this a lot, your sexuality is your creativity, that's your power. That the amount of money, the most of the money you make comes out of the second chakra,
Mhm.
the sensuality, sexuality chakra. And when you're screwed up in your head around sex, then it limits your income. It's that simple.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, he would say the way past it is through it. Go embrace what you think is not you and honor it and bless it and watch your life get bigger.
Interesting.
That's another aspect of the shadow work that I often forget, that it's the
Mhm.
aspects of ourselves that it leans into what I was talking about, self-love, is to love the parts of yourself that you're afraid of, or,
Exactly.
you just bring that
Mhm.
part over and you see it in the world around you, you reject it, but it's definitely one of those unconscious blocks that I feel like we can't really. Do you feel the same way too, that we can't get to the unconscious by ourselves, that we need,
Yeah.
like a
I would say,
teacher?
one, you cannot get there through the mind, is the first thing. It's not something you could ever think your way out of. Because if it were about intellect and thinking and knowledge, I would have become the supreme overlord of the universe decades ago. It's not.
You were in the D&D realm, right?
I was,
Back
yes,
then?
yes.
See? You only
Absolutely. I've been playing D&D almost every weekend for 43 years. So
Oh my gosh, that's
my mom still regrets buying me my first D&D set back in 1981. She had no idea it would consume my life, but that's exactly right. The other thing that what one of the gifts I got from Carl was what we call the movement work. That you can watch people move and see in their energy patterns how they move every aspect of what's happening in their life.
Mhm.
And that's one of the keys to seeing what's really going on. And I would agree, it's almost impossible to do on your own.
Yeah, you need an
Almost
observer.
impossible. Yep. You need an objective third party to help you with it.
Mhm.
It's the same reason that smart lawyers don't represent themselves in court, they hire another lawyer.
Mhm.
Smart doctors don't try to treat themselves, they go to another doctor.
Yeah.
Anyone that's done intuitive work knows it's almost impossible to do clear readings on things that are at least emotionally volatile and powerful for you,
Mhm.
right? Mothers have a heck of a time doing readings on their kids. Why? They care too
Mhm.
much, right? You're too
Right.
close. But yeah, I am in awe of people that figure this stuff out on their own. I couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It was hard enough for me having some incredibly gifted and beautifully talented teachers helping me.
Right, and how do you get out of your own way? That's a whole other monster
Right,
in
because most
of
of us don't
itself.
even see what's in our own way.
No.
Right, exactly.
You know, that we're all blind to what's actually holding us back.
How
That
much do you think that frequency plays into the experiences that you've had since you've been doing your work? Because you were talking about
Yeah.
just like even being at the airport and
Yep.
how you have this VIP and then going to a restaurant and having this incredible food. It just how do you feel like that plays into all of the work that you're doing?
What I have found is I think the entire universe is created out of geometry and frequency. And so I would say it's almost everything
Mm,
that, like you tune on the radio, you make a small adjustment in the frequency and you hear a totally different thing come out, don't you?
Yeah.
Right? One frequency, you're hearing a
That's the
baseball game,
ether. You
you know?
blend into the ether on the radio. Like
Exactly.
that.
You change the dial just a little bit, then you hear rock music. You change it a little more, you hear jazz. Then you change it a little more, you hear a talk show in Spanish.
mhm,
And so I think that the frequency is enormous because I think we're more sensitive than we realize to people's frequencies.
mhm,
And the when we interact with other people in particular, they are responding to our energy and our body language, our frequency, much more than our words. Anyone that's had children or animals knows this. I mean, does your dog speak English like an adult human? No, but they can feel your energy. They know when you're angry. They know when you're afraid. They know when they should run the heck out of the room. They also know when you need a cuddle. So I think one of the good teachings is, can you do the same thing in a different way?
mhm,
In other words, and it can start with a little thing. Can you show up at work as a little different version of you? Can you make dinner and be a little different version of you? And by exploring the frequencies, we can find the things that really work. It's funny that up until really about 200 years ago, people believed that if we took matter, it was just a matter of combining the elements in the right way. They had no idea that the different kinds of chemical bonds and the shaping and the temperatures mattered. So that you can take the same pile of chemistry and create 100 radically different things out of it. And again, it's all just the geometry and the frequency.
mhm,
If you can learn to be, one of the things that was amazing about Carl, he was sort of an energy chameleon. That most of us are kind of fixed in the frequencies we put out there, and we only like people that run similar frequencies. So maybe it's politics or sports or music. Carl had this amazing ability to just tune into whatever frequency of the people he was around. And we used to joke he could walk right out of the skinhead gang meeting into the Hasidic temple, and both places would love him because he didn't try to force his frequency on people. He was able to let it move around and match the situation, if that makes sense. Whereas most of us go into things with our mind about how it has to be. Like when I went to the airport, I'm like, there has to be a short line. It has to move fast or we're going to miss the flight and we're going to be screwed. Coming at it totally from the mind. Carl was just, hey, let's get in line. Let's see what happens. And if we miss the flight, I guess we were meant to miss the flight. World doesn't end, right?
mhm.
I love
You know,
that.
after all, he was the one leading the retreat, right? As long as I'm with him, I'm not going to miss anything, am I?
And what a peaceful way to live your life,
Yep.
right? I mean, you just eliminate the stress because
Yes,
what will be will be.
that's right. That a lot of us think that we're very stressed over the actions we take because we think that's what's going to create the future. Yeah, not so much.
Mhm,
The divine part of you already picked all that. We're just backfilling through cause and effect to create in the physical world the conditions to experience what we need.
mm.
So do
And
you
I'm not sure we're powerful enough to get past the divine will, At least I'm not. Maybe you guys are, but I'm not.
I
Yeah.
I don't really understand from everything that I've learned and the way I live, why you would want to try to get
Right.
past the divine will.
Yeah,
It's you can't imagine it like the divine will have it for you.
that's right.
You could never imagine it in the human form.
Yeah. Though it's funny, we say that, but many of us live our lives the opposite way. So
Mhm.
when someone cuts in front of you and you miss a light, you get angry at them. Screw you, buddy, right?
No,
Well,
no.
maybe not anymore, but the mainstream, right? Maybe you two don't,
I do see it happening.
right? Anytime we get upset or frustrated and going, this is not how it should be, that's us thinking we're smarter than the divine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember Terry called me out in one of our first sessions. She goes, Brent, you think you're smarter than God. I'm like, no, I don't. She's like, really?
You
And
didn't even
she
think
didn't
about
even have
that.
to explain it. She just looked at me for a minute. I'm like, no, you're right. We all think I should have more money. I should have more friends. I should have more sex. I should have less pain. I should live over in this house or have this car or this job. There's nothing wrong with having a goal and moving towards it. But when we get reactive and get angry, upset, fearful, that's thinking we're smarter than the divine.
Well, so it's taught in the law of attraction that if you
Mhm.
can't find satisfaction or peace or harmony with where you are, you're never going to find it when you go somewhere
Yep.
else.
Yeah. My version is if you want to move forward in your life, fall in love with exactly where you are right now.
Yeah.
Yes,
All the
I
bumps,
agree with
all the warts, all the things, fall in love with it, bless it. And I think you'll be surprised at how things start to move forward more easily.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The universe knows. There's that intelligence in there that says, "Well, why should
Hmm.
it give you more when you can't handle what you've got?"
Right?
Mhm.
You're like not satisfied here, so more
Hmm.
isn't going to help you at all. You haven't moved through all your obstacles, and the ability to hold that higher frequency, that willingness to keep that frequency
Yeah. And it's amazing. I mean, I've worked with people really struggling in poverty, and I've worked with people who were extremely wealthy.
and structure.
And the money stress is about the same
I
for the
Mhm.
know.
most
Zoom
part.
out.
I had one client, I won't divulge any details, obviously, but she was probably worth 20, 30 million, maybe more. And she had lost $2 million and she was stressing out like she wanted to kill herself.
Wow.
And I was like, really? Even if this is a total loss, you're still worth like 20 million, right? But we lose perspective. And the point is
Mhm.
that, we always think we want more. We all think more money will solve our problem or a better job or dating this person. The truth is, you'd feel exactly the same even if you got what you wanted.
Mhm.
You'd ride a little high called psychological inflation, and then it would wear off and you would feel exactly the same. It's like a drug addiction.
Mhm.
You just need a little bit that first time to get high, but you keep getting high each time you need a little more, a little more, a little more, just to get back to where you are. And that's what money and health and love, there's nothing wrong with any of it. But if you can't connect to your true self, if you're living from the mind, no amount of money or sex or fame is going to scratch the itch. And it's tragic. Look at how many young musicians and actors and sports stars end up dying. It's because they have so many resources, they can just keep running that cycle until it kills them. And, again, I would say if you want to move forward, if you want to have more money, love where you're at.
Mhm.
Bless your bills, bless your stress, right? One
Stress
of the
on
little
stress.
things I found for a lot of people, one of the main reasons we block ourselves from making a lot of money is it's much easier to be poor. That if you have immense wealth, let's say you're worth $1 billion, you have the power to eradicate poverty in certain parts of the world with that money to save lives. That's an enormous burden and responsibility, isn't it? If you're poor, what you do doesn't really matter. I heard a quote once. I don't know what this is based on. There's a saying that the average billionaire's time is worth $25,000 a minute. And so if you want to go take the afternoon off to watch a movie, you've just pissed away millions of dollars in value. That could have fed thousands of hungry children. That could have built a hospital in, a third world country. And so this is why we need to really bless where we're at and trust there's a reason where we're at.
Mhm.
No, there's a reason you're stuck with pain or poverty. I'm not saying you'll be stuck there forever, but when we're willing to go, hey, maybe there's an important reason why I'm here, why I didn't get what I want. When I was in my 20s, I thought I was going to be a computer game rock star. I really thought by the time I was 30, I'd be retired worth tens of millions of dollars and be spending my days hot tubbing with supermodels. And that was my goal. And I look back and I go, man, of course it would have been a great ride. But oh my God, had I actually achieved that success as my old self, I would have been the most miserable, arrogant SOB on the planet.
Mm.
I'm not sure I ever could have recovered my happiness. And so it just took, many, many layers of trauma and setbacks to humble this giant ego and get me to go, okay, maybe I'm not as powerful and as smart and clever as I used to think. Right? Because that too is just,
You had a control thing, didn't you?
oh, for sure. Big, yeah, for sure. Not just mentally, but physically too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Your body had to actually, like, shout and scream
Mhm.
and boy, was it hard to get your attention.
Yep. And that's why I had to have really severe health issues.
Yeah.
Mm.
Had I had a little thing the doctor could have papered over with a prescription drug, I never would have gotten into this.
Mm.
The way I was raised, it was like, well, people that do acupuncture and take herbs, they're just dumb or, too cheap to pay real doctors. That was what I was raised to believe.
It's actually
Now it's,
more expensive.
yeah, and it's a little ridiculous. Now people say, oh, have you been to a doctor? I'm like, honestly, a lot of the time, a doctor would be the last person I'd want to see for my health issues. They're good for
Mhm.
some things, right? If I'm in a car
Like,
accident, take me to the doctor, please.
yeah.
Yes, I'm not saying they're wrong for everything, but if you're overweight, if you're depressed, if you're unhappy with your life, I have never found a doctor with the answer.
Right.
That's all. They're very good with what's called battlefield medicine.
Yeah.
So if you've been shot, stabbed, car accident, had a fall, yes, Western medicine is exactly what you want.
Mhm.
But if you have a lifestyle issue, if you have, uh, diabetes, if you're overweight, if you're depressed, for the most part, they're just going to paper over the symptoms. And then a year or two later, the drug stops working and you have the same problem, except now it's worse. Like people I've known with insomnia. Ambien's a godsend for a while. Oh my God, I can sleep. But everyone I know, 1, 2, 3 years later, okay, now my body's tolerant to Ambien and I can't sleep, and now I'm addicted to Ambien.
So
And shopping in the middle of the night.
oh, yes.
Sure.
So what do you find is a common thread for people that deal with insomnia?
I have found the biggest common thread is actually PTSD.
Oh,
That,
explain
or,
that.
I learned a fun fact. Do you know the difference between PTS and PTSD?
No.
The difference is if you add the D, it's been formally diagnosed by a doctor.
Oh.
Because I wondered, I'm like, what's the difference, right? They're exactly the same thing. That what happens is many people having trouble sleeping is because their adrenals are still running late at night when they're supposed to be shut down. It's not always PTSD, but that's very common. Your
Mhm.
body's still under threat, still in danger.
Hmm.
And so your adrenals keep pumping adrenaline, which keeps you up. And you can't get restless. You get restless, you can't sleep, you're stressed out. So that's many people that if you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get to sleep for an hour or two, that was often it. That was me. And once I started to address some of the PTSD, all of a sudden I could sleep through the night again.
Story of my life.
Yep. Your adrenals get fatigued. It throws your
Mhm.
hormone balance off.
Yep.
Usually you end up with too much insulin, too much estrogen, not enough testosterone, not enough progesterone.
Mhm.
And, and the hormones are kind of the control panel for your body. That when the hormones go off, it's just all sorts of downstream effects.
Mhm.
And the PTSD is like, throwing a wrench into the machine.
Sure.
Everything stops working. And, when I was growing up, we just thought that post-traumatic stress was something that only people in wars got.
Sure.
What we're
Mhm.
finding now is no. You could have PTS from your divorce, from a breakup, from losing a job, from a bad investment. All these things can do the trick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then your brain is compromised right up either until you fix it or you die.
So what are some basic things that you deal with when you're dealing with trauma?
Um, the first thing I would say is be careful digging deep on fresh trauma. People need to stabilize first.
Oh, yeah.
It's not too different than when I blew out my knee. I blew out my knee. I'm like, okay, when are we having surgery? They're like 6 weeks. I'm like, what? I don't want to wait 6 weeks to fix my knee. They're like, no, Brent, that's how we do it because the inflammation needs to calm down first.
Mm.
We can't operate on the knee when it's full of inflammation. And so it's like that. So we need to stabilize first. I'll tell you the secrets I found that as a trauma has been something I've studied a lot the last 2, 3 years. That what's happening is when we create a PTS, a traumatic experience, it's because our body and mind are overwhelmed by the present moment. We're given something we cannot handle. So, let's say you're 4 years old and your house burns down and your mother dies. Boom, trauma, right? Your brain cannot process that. And so your mind stays partly stuck in that traumatic experience 24/7, 365 for the rest of your life. And the trick to it is we need to get the body back into the biological state it is when we process the day's events at night when we sleep. That trauma is essentially an unprocessed memory. It's like going to the gym. You put 1,000 pounds on the bar, you can't lift it. That's trauma. And so the two things that are key are, number one is the theta brainwave. That when our brain processes our memories every night, we go into a theta wave state, also known as REM or rapid eye movement sleep. And that's when our brain processes everything that happened during the day. The second piece to it is in the rapid eye movement, the eyes move. And so you don't need both, but I think a lot of the success of many of the PTSD treatments, like involving the eye movement, EMDR and things, is because we're tricking the brain back into the state to process the memory. I mainly work with the theta brainwave. I and train people into a very slow brain state to replicate the brain state you're in when you process the memory. And that is sort of hacking your brain to reprocess a memory that happened years or decades ago. And when that happens, boom, your body heals. It can be almost like magic. Unfortunately, I have not found talk therapy alone does the trick most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not worth doing. I've just found you can talk about it for years and years and it doesn't solve the problem.
Mhm.
But if you
So,
can get into the subconscious using the theta state, the eye movement, you
mm,
can solve the problem. You really can.
it's what techniques are you using when you work with clients?
It kind of depends on each person. That I will freely admit, the first couple of years I did this, I knew one approach, one technique, and I just kind of blindly applied it with every person and hoped it would work. And so that's how I started. But now I've learned so many things that, for the most part, for health issues, I would lean towards what I call the second gen techniques. Things like EFT, NLP, emotion code, Psyche, where we go in and use intuitive readings and muscle testing to identify specific subconscious blocks and traumas we picked up, and then lead through the people through the process of releasing them.
Mhm.
With issues of career, money, confidence, success, I have not found those tools to be as useful. They're worth applying. But for those issues, I have found the embodiment work through movement to get new consciousness into your body where you've lost it. That does the trick. And that's why I shared earlier when met Terry, she introduced me to the second gen work, and I was able to experience a miracle healing. And over the next few years, reduce my pain and disability enough that I got my life back. But it didn't move the needle on money and confidence and relationships. It wasn't until I met Carl years after and got into the embodiment work with the movement that I cracked that nut. So it would kind of depend on the person.
Mhm.
It also kind of depends on their background and what they're ready for. That, it's like imagine someone that's overweight and out of shape. You don't show up at a CrossFit gym and hit the workout 100%. No, they're not ready for that. That could injure them, set them back, right? So for somebody that's new to this stuff, that is still not real confident with it, I wouldn't take them into their deepest, darkest fear on the first day.
Oh,
You know,
no.
just like someone that's out of shape, start with some jumping jacks, some push-ups, maybe a short run, then give it a few days and we'll slowly build up.
Mhm.
And, especially for the advanced work, the movement, I have to be careful who I do it with because there is some truth like the movie. Not everyone can handle the truth.
Yeah.
And before I learned this, I blew up some very important relationships in my life because people begged me to do movement work before I fully knew what I was doing. I
Mhm.
didn't realize they weren't ready for it. So I told them the truth about what's happening in their life, and they got so upset with me, they just broke it off.
Mm.
I lost one of my close friends that way. I lost a tech that I had worked with for 7 years. He's like, Brent, I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm like, I don't know, dude. I want to do it. I'm like, all right. So I had him move. I read his energy, never talked to me again. So, again, so there's a lot of factors, but most people I would start with what we call the digging tools, the second gen, introduce them to the power of the subconscious, teach them how to communicate with their own subconscious, walk them through the process of identifying, clearing some blocks, give them some experience and validation so they know this is real.
Mhm.
And then typically I like to put people through a little bit of training before I introduce them to the advanced work. Just because, again, you don't want to overdo it with people who aren't ready.
Mhm.
And if you aren't ready, it's okay. I can get you ready, right? Just like if you want to do CrossFit, but you're out of shape and overweight, that's okay. We just got to do some things first before you're ready for CrossFit. No shame there, right? We got to eat a little better. We got to drop some weight. We got to build up your endurance, right? Then maybe 3, 6, 9 months out, maybe then you're ready for it.
Mhm.
Because, my goal is to meet people wherever they're at and help them move forward.
Yes, so there's a lot of
That
time.
sounds like Natalie.
It
Yes.
does sound.
She's the human wilderness guide.
Yep. And I try to keep my own opinions and judgments out of it.
Mhm.
I do
Yeah.
my best to put that to the side and just be a pure channel for my clients,
Mm.
lead them to whatever it is the next step for them,
Beautiful.
and
Yeah.
keep moving forward.
Well, people definitely have to be in it for a lot longer than just a few sessions because they have to reestablish a different style. Their practice has
Yes.
been what they've been doing that's
Yep.
gotten them to that point. And so it's this awareness that you've got to restyle your life
hmm
and create new practices, which is not just 2 weeks.
Right. You got to create new patterns in the nervous system.
Mhm.
And that takes, the research has shown at minimum 3 weeks. 3 months is
Minimum.
typical. Yeah. At
Yeah.
minimum, it's usually more like 3 months.
Yeah.
That same thing with a new diet. If you're eating healthy, 1 week of eating healthy is not going to change much.
No.
But if you can stick with it for 5, 10, 20 years, the rest of your life, you'll just get more and more benefits.
Yeah.
And that's why I used to be more of a transactional. Book me for a session. We'll do some work. Hope you get a miracle. Now I'm a little more picky about who I work with, and I'm more interested in working with people who are willing to make a longer term commitment.
Mhm.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I really want to work with you, not forever, typically 1 to 3 years for most people, to get the most value and really cement that new pattern and way of being
Mhm.
so that you're not going to slip back. You're not going to keep making the same mistakes. But yeah, for sure.
So, we are running out of time very quickly. I
It's
didn't
like
even realize what time it was. I'm just
Time
so
flies when you're having fun,
listening to you. What are some of the services that you offer? So, if everyone wants to go to awakeningdynamics.com,
Yeah.
that is Brent's website. What would a typical uh, session look like with
Oh,
you?
I have different things I offer.
Okay.
For some, I am available for one-on-one sessions, but I'll let you know there is a process to it. I don't accept everyone like I used to. I'm more interested in finding people that are a good fit for a longer term relationship.
Mhm.
I'm looking to date you for months or years, not just have a one night stand, right? I also have group trainings available. I'm doing my next live intensive coming up the third weekend in May. I also do occasional promotional events. So I'm doing, for those of you that go to the website, you'll see that if you're watching this live, that I'm doing an event called 5 Minute Healings next Wednesday. That I go on and I pull random people out of the group and I spend 5 minutes with you and do my best to change your life in 5 minutes. And I do that to demonstrate the different techniques and approaches that I use and you can learn. My goal long term is I'd love to be more of a teacher only because there's only so many people I can work with, right?
Mhm.
I only have so many hours, so much attention, so much voice, so much legs, etc. That I really love the teaching. I love empowering people to learn how to heal themselves. Now, of course, working with me and other professionals is part of it. But I found most people can do about 70% of their own healing if you give them the right tools. And so that's why I love teaching. I would
Mhm.
love to show people. And, I also, same thing with my trainings. There's so many places you can go that run you through a weekend, rubber stamp your certificate, and kick you to the street. I don't do that.
Mhm.
I want to offer a long period of ongoing support, practice, ask questions, get guidance. Because I don't just want to teach you cool techniques. I want to stick with you until I see you embodying it and applying it and really thriving in your life.
Mhm.
And then, usually after 1 to 3 years, I won't hear from you for a while. Why? You probably don't need me for a while, right? You're thriving, you're making money, you're enjoying your vacation, buying your house, whatever, right? Now, of course, inevitably life rears up and bad things happen. Even Carl and Terry, they were some of the most powerful people I've ever known. They both died. Why? That's life. So this is no guarantee nothing bad will happen. People will die. You'll have injuries, setbacks, losses. But the more grounded you are in the true self with these tools and techniques, the easier it will be to move through it. Like
Mhm.
with divorce, every person I know I've worked with going through a divorce, it's been painful for every one of them. But every single one of them has moved through it pretty quickly and come out much stronger the other side. That's what I really want to do for people. I see myself as like a lighthouse. You tell me where you are, where you want to be. I'll do my best to light it up so you can get there faster, easier, without crashing on the rocks.
Mhm.
That, I can't magically take you there in a moment, but I can facilitate your journey. One of the things they taught us at MIT was very simple. There's two ways we learn things. One is learning from your own mistakes. Two is learning from other people's mistakes. So, like Rumi said, a journey of 3 weeks will take 100 years without a guide. So if you're open to some guidance, if you'd like a lighthouse to help you get to where you want to go without crashing on the rocks, here I am. At the same time, I'm not right for everyone. I'm intense. I think fast. I speak fast. I'm obsessed with the truth. I don't have a lot of patience for time wasters and idiots. So, so I don't appeal to everybody. But if you're like me and you really want to move forward and you're willing to be wrong, you're willing to be humbled, you're willing to take guidance, I would love to work with you. The greatest thrill I experience is seeing that light go on, watching people's face change. That's why I get up every morning and do this work.
Mhm. I think it's important to have a coach or a teacher or guru of some kind, however you choose, whatever word you use, that is a little more intense because it actually pushes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
At least for me, I know not everyone's comfortable with that, but I
right.
feel it's important to have someone who's like really cheering you on and not letting you get in your own way.
Yeah, I mean, if you want someone that's just going to tell you it's all okay and validate your prejudices and dysfunctions, don't come to Brent, right? That's not me. I admit Carl was a bit
Come
of
to
a jerk.
Natalie.
I was pissed at him after our first session. Why? He told me the truth.
Mm,
No one had ever told me the truth like he did.
yeah,
I didn't like it. But looking back, it was the greatest gift that he ever gave me.
right.
Was simply telling me the truth and being willing to be present through me as I fought it and reacted and judged and did all the silly things we do.
Mhm.
So yeah, I am a little intense. I'll push you out of your comfort zone, but that's the only way you're going to move forward. It's all done with love.
Mhm.
No, it really is all done with love.
I believe that. I believe that. I believe that you come from a very good heart-centered space.
Hmm.
You can feel that in the way that you deliver your messages, and also you began doing this work from a very dark place, from experience,
Yep.
and I think there's a lot to be said about that.
It certainly humbled me and gave me an enormous amount of compassion.
Mhm.
When I came out of MIT, I really thought I was set for life.
Mm-hmm.
And then less than 3 years later, my life was ruined. I was on permanent disability with chronic pain. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
That was
They
the
didn't
thing,
teach
as
you
they
that in
say,
MIT?
the one that wipes you out is usually the one you don't see coming.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, and but it's okay. Just again, I was so arrogant. I had to be thoroughly humbled.
Mhm.
Hopefully, people listening aren't as thick-headed as me. You're more willing to bend and flow. You don't have to have your whole life destroyed to make a change.
Yeah.
And if you do, that's fine. It worked for me, right? It can work for you too.
You can recover from that.
Yeah, yeah. It just sucks for a while. That's all. Yeah, not a big deal, right? Just like
No.
getting into shape. It sucks for a while. Being a
Yeah.
parent, it sucks the first year, right? It
It
gets better. It
More.
really does.
I've heard.
It really does. It
it
gets better.
depends.
Yep.
It has been really lovely learning about your human experience and your journey story and all that you have learned and shared with all of us tonight. It's been really good. Thank you.
Oh, likewise. I love to talk to people and share, and this is a wonderful opportunity. So, really excited to have been here tonight.
Thank you, Brent. I'm glad that it worked out. And to all of you, make sure you go to awakeningdynamics.com. You can learn more about Brent and the offerings that he has for all of you. And then also, Brent, you're all over the place. You've been on Coast to Coast and all different other shows. So Google him if you guys want to watch some more of his interviews. Grab his book. It's all over the place. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
I like to offer to everyone that your ability to move forward is related to how willing you are to be wrong about what you think you know. So, if you're willing to let go of all these things you're so certain about, your life will take off like a rocket ship. The
Mhm.
more you're trying to force the world to be the way you think it should be, oh boy, it's going to be a rough ride. It's okay. Again, your life may suck for a while. You'll get through it. But I'm here to be your lighthouse. If you want to crash on the rocks, go for it. You know what? God will give you as many boats and as many rocks as you need till you figure it out.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
It's
a
okay,
lovely
right?
message.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
But if you want to get through a little faster, I'm not the right teacher for everyone, but I'd like to think I am for some of the people here. So, check it out. If we
yeah.
click, that's great. If not, I'm happy to recommend other healers and teachers. It might be a better fit, and that's great too. I
Beautiful.
just want everyone to get what they need. It doesn't matter where it comes from. That's less important.
Yeah. So good. So good. Thank you again for your time, your energy, and for all of the beautiful work that you're doing in the world.
Oh, it is much appreciated. Thank you.
And to all of you, our listeners, thank you for being here with us this evening. We wouldn't be here without you. We're in so much gratitude for you and your support of our show and the station. Until next week, take care of yourself and each other. We'll see you then.
Have a good one.